So good afternoon, good morning, and pleasure to participate into this workshop. And thank you very much for inviting me. The idea would be to present the way at Ayala, which is a small biotech company. In fact, we are today 20 people. The way we are looking at how to select a CMO. And the idea behind that is that for a biotech company and probably for every one of us, it is critical to find the right CMO, the first time. So what we're going to do is going to go very, very quickly with one slide on about Ayala, so you really understand what we are doing and why is it so important. And then we're going to go through this specific CDMO selection process that we develop and detail the different acceptance criteria that we put together to ensure that we have a successful selection process. And then I will take you through a case study. We didn't just do that theoretically, but we did it apply to an actual way of selecting a CDMO. And obviously, we'll go through the questions that you may have, and I will try to respond. So Ayala is an Israeli biotech company. We are located in Rehovot, near the Weizmann Institute, but we have also our CEO and a medical officer in the US. We went through a merger lately with Advaxis, but we are today called Ayala Pharmaceuticals. There is another ongoing merger with Biosite, with an Israeli biotech company. So, you know, things are moving. We are adding to the portfolio, etc. And we need definitely to be very careful about how to select a CDMO. Ayala has developed an oral gamma secretase inhibitor, which is good for desmoid tumor. We are currently in a phase 3 clinical study, and we are engaged with a lot of CDMO since we are doing everything outside. So let's go through a couple of questions and try to respond to them. The when, why, how, and what are the critical aspects of selecting a CMO? Why? I think it's obvious. I mean, we need to develop our product to find the best CDMO, and we want to do that without a biased way. It is important not to just judge a CDMO by the cost, for example, but to take a lot of other, I would call that attributes. When we would like to do that, I would say that as early as possible in the process of developing or tech transferring a product. So at the very immediate program initiation, and to make sure that we have involved everyone around the table internally before we are going and shopping outside. How we are doing that? We at Ayala are doing that by a detailed RFP. And I can tell you from the response I'm getting from the different CMOs that very often I'm getting that answer that, you know, guys, we are not used to get such a very detailed RFP. It looks like you first understand your process and your product, and it helps very much in the process of exchanging information with the CDMO. What we are doing, in fact, a matrix. We developed a matrix of predefined criteria, and that's what we're going to go together to explain the detail of that. At the end of the day, as I said earlier, the first thing which is important for us, especially for a biotech company, but I would say for any big company as well, is the selection of the proper CDMO first time good. So how do we do that? I think there is a couple of things that are very generic. I would say that probably I'm not giving you anything brand new, but I think I would like to still put that in a way that it is structured and comprehensive. So we are going, first of all, we're starting with a broad list. Broad list is built, on different things that we know from around the globe, consultant, previous experience. And taking from that, we are narrowing the list because for two reasons. First, we don't intend to approach CDMOs which are not exactly capable to do what we are intending to do. And also because we may have heard about some, information that would tell us, it's not the right time, I would say, to approach a certain CDMO. Once we have that, or in parallel of having that, we are preparing this very detailed RFP. And these RFPs including not only what we are intending to do at the CDMO, but also what are the timelines that we are expecting. First, to send the CDMO, to get back the proposal, to go through the timelines for the selection, so the back and forward discussion that we are having with the CDMOs. And at the end of the day, also to put that in this RFP, what is the timeline for the decision making? So immediately, we're trying to be as much as possible transparent regarding what we want to do and when we want to do and when the decision will be taken. So we're going through the quotes review, and obviously through that, we can understand that some of the CDMOs that we have approached are not capable to provide the service that we are intending. Maybe they don't have all the equipment, maybe they are not interested, maybe they are too slow in their response. All that can help us to narrow down the list. Then when we have this list, we are doing an assessment before an on-site visit. And the assessment will be exactly the topic of what we're going to present in more detail. It is important for us to say that it is essential for us as part of the decision-making to have an on-site visit. We truly believe that it is a critical step for the selection of the proper CDMO, and we are very much recommending this to happen. At the end of the day, we are finalizing our summary, presenting our ranking to the upper management, and trying to get a decision. So let's look at how our matrix is looking. We are trying to put together specific attributes, and I'm saying specific because they are specific to the program, to the project that we are intending to transfer to a CDMO and to Ayala. So the first thing we put together, we said, okay, let's go obviously at the cost of ownership. But the cost of ownership is not only how much this program is costing, but also probably the cost per batch. The management cost. Some CDMOs are adding a project management cost and fee, and it could be very, very heavy. Sometimes CDMO is very well equipped, but some equipment are missing. So there is some CapEx. And I think it's very important not to decide upfront that because there is a CapEx, this CDMO is not suitable, because there is different way to share cost of CapEx. The other aspect is the QA. We are a biotech company. As I said very earlier, we want to be successful. Part of the success is obviously the quality of the CDMO. So we are looking about what are their history. Do they have they been through an FDA inspection or other regulatory inspection? And we are trying to qualify and to understand what are their quality system and what kind of quality metrics we can get from them. Third thing is the competency. Competency is split in different sections: the equipment and functionality and capacity, but also the management. I truly believe that a product is made by people and not just by equipment. So it's important for us to see that obviously we have the facilities, the equipment, the infrastructure, but also the people. And when I'm talking about the people, it's not about only management, but also SMEs. Obviously, we are helping ourselves with customer, consultant recommendation, and that help us to build that additional attributes. Finally, or not finally, we are very curious to understand why a big CDMO will be interested to work with Ayala. Ayala being a biotech company, 5 years ago when we just started, we were not known on the market. There was about some skepticism, I would say, about where we can be in few months, few years from now. And it was very interesting to have those discussions with those CDMO, why they would take the risk to give us a service. Finally, Finally, we wanted to double check what are the risks we can have to work with a specific CDMO. When I'm talking about the risk is probably the next step after tech transfer would be what kind of validation experiences they have, what are their financial situation, the site location. The site location is a big risk for a company like Ayala, located in Israel. Trip to Europe are not big deal. We are 4.5 hours from anywhere in Europe. Going to the US, not a big challenge, but it obviously costs more, etc. So let's look at what we've done to make it more, I would say, mathematical. We decided that each of those attributes will have a certain percentage in our decision-making process. And it is, again, our decision to say that, for example, the cost of ownership is 30% of the decision, while, for example, the competency will be 20%. Now, QA aspect can be asked, why is it so low? It is not low, it's just that the attribute this acceptance criteria is that the CDMO that we will engage ourselves will be a CDMO that is already known to be FDA checked, not FDA approved, but have a good quality system. So it is important, but in that process, it's not weighing the most like the others, like the risk or like the competencies. So let's go through how we did that. And very simple. We put together some tables, and as you can see, you see here a summary table ready for filling with the CDMO names 1 to 5 and the different sub attributes under for example, the project cost and the cost per batch and CDMO management cost. And we are giving to each of that a weight and a grade. So, for example, if the QA history is 40%, we will grade between 0 to 10 this quality. And the same for each of them. So I'm not going to take too much time to go through all those grading. And again, these grades should be discussed internally with everyone. So I would say that the CMC people need to discuss that with the QA people, with the regulatory department and come to an agreement about the weight we are giving to each of these aspects. Obviously, when it comes to financial, you will have a discussion with your financial department. And regarding the risk, it is important also to involve the upper management to have that discussion whether the site location or the financial understanding that you have on the CDMO is weighing X or Y and how you grade that. So let's look at how a summary table is looking. So if we decided, and again, this is really Ayala's decision for a specific project, to say that the total cost of goods will be 30%, and therefore, since the total score of those sub-attributes within the TCO is 40, the weighted score will be 12. So immediately we can see that the maximum mark that the best CMO can get is 39. Now let's look at a case study and see what we've done. So the case study was for the selection of a CDMO will be manufacturing or an injectable or an oral high potent drug with the low volumes. So as I said before, immediately you can understand that if it's a low volume scale, some of the CDMOs are not interested or not equipped to work on small scale. If you're going to talk about an injectable or an oral, not all the CMOs have the capability to do both. And here, the third topic is the high potent. A lot of CDMOs are not equipped to work with highly potent, and our drug product is highly potent. So I wanted to and I'm not expecting you to read what is here, and I would just gonna highlight some of the topics that are here in the report. This CDMO site visit report is what we have summarized and formally summarized for each of the CDMOs that we went on site after we went through this exercise of giving them a mark. So this is only for the CDMOs that we were on site visiting. So obviously, we are preparing a summary report. So there is a scope of visit, there is an executive summary, there is a company overview, a facility overview summary, just for us to remember what we have seen, what is existing, and few remarks. For example, these specific CDMOs, we went into the stability chamber, and again, we went on an on-site visit. It's not an audit. We are not trying to perform an audit at that stage. It's really much more to understand what do we see and how we are feeling with what we have seeing on site, which is quite different to getting to review just a quote, I would say. When we went into those stability chamber in that specific CMO, we've seen that we were able to read the name of the product and the name of the other client who were working with this CDMO. And for us, that was not something that we were very happy to see, because I think it's a breach of confidentiality. And you can imagine that this CDMO got a bad mark on that specific attribute. Other things, since this drug product is highly potent, we wanted to understand upfront from the CDMO whether they have past experience with the use of self-containment bags from a technicality point of view, but also from a quality point of view. Self-containment bag meaning We will deliver to the drug product manufacturer the drug substance in a self-containment bag, pre-qualified, pre-weighted. Is it something that this CDMO is technically capable to handle and is from a quality point of view acceptable for him? And believe me, there was a lot of discussion around those things. Some CDMO were completely surprised about this approach, which means they don't have a lot of experience with hypo drug substance. Some were very used to that and very open to accept this idea, and even very happy to see that a small biotech is looking at such an approach. Another key point of that was that we know that one of the excipients that we are using is a very, I would say, specific excipient in terms of handling. And we wanted to know if the CDMO has previous experience with the testing of this key excipient and the handling of this excipient. And again, that helped us to give better mark or less good mark to this specific CDMO. Container closure system integrity test for injectable product is done through dye ingression. There is new technology, new in-process control methodology to do that. And again, we wanted to see if those CDMO are open to that, or they are planning to invest in those technology, or they are just sticking to the current approach. And finally, and I think it was one of the most important things during the on-site visit, is to talk with the SME, with a subject matter expert in all fields: analytical, process, formulation, scale-up, tech transfer, quality. All the subject matters that you can talk to them will give you a better understanding whether the CDMO has both the facility, the equipment, and the people to do the work that you want to give them to do. So bottom line, that's how the summary is looking. A very small table with a mark, with a mark, so a total mark like in class. What is the maximum mark the CDMO can get? And it's possible to compare between a pre-visit and a post-visit. The pre-visit means, what do I think I know about the CDMO based on all those attribute lists, the weight and the score I'm giving based on the quotes and the discussion. Post-visit can be very different. It can be higher or it can be lower. And that's obviously the integration of those two marks that help us to give to take a decision. So just for the curiosity and just to make it more interesting, I'm trying to give you here a couple of highlights of what we've done. First of all, as you can see, the total score that these three different CMOs got from our assessment is around, I would say, 12.5 to 15. What does it mean? That first of all, it's not a very high mark, which means that probably Ayala was a bit strict with the way we are weighing or assessing their capabilities. And that's something that we have to take into consideration when we will do that again. And I think it's something that is important for ourselves. In fact, it was the first time we were using this tool. The second thing is that if you're looking at the different CDMOs, you can not sure if you are completely deciding that CDMO 2 who is getting the best score, it's built on every single attribute being the best, having the best number. For the supplier perception of Ayala, you can see CDMO number 1 and number 2 get the same score, the 0.7. Even, excuse me, even on the risk, CDMO 1 got a 2.7, which is higher than the 2.1 for the CDMO 2. So at the end of the day, I think we can understand from here that it is really an integration of those different attributes and the score that we have given for each attribute that is helping us to take the decision to go with CDMO number 2 and not the 2 others. In conclusion, I think it is important to decide the attributes and the acceptance criteria specifically for the program and for the company that you are deciding, so to make it very specific to yourself. The definition of the acceptance criteria is also something that, because it's very critical, has to be well considered and discussed ahead of time. So as I said before, if you think that the quality is very critical and you're not sure that you're selecting pre-approved, I would say, FDA, pre-approved FDA CDMOs or CDMOs who has a lot of experience, I think you should give a higher rank or higher weight for these attributes. I think it is very important to run the pre-on-site visit assessment, since, as I said, it's the best opportunity to see the facility, but also to speak with the different SMEs. When it's not possible to have to physically be present, I think that today the CDMOs are very prepared to have those virtual tours, and it can be very helpful. So finally, I would like to say it is very important to define your goals and to have a written RFP, very detailed, including all what you know, to take an educated decision using what we presented here, this CDMO matrix. And one of the most important thing I would say, since working with a CDMO is a long-term project, I think it's very important to exchange positive ideas during the first communication that you have during this quote review, but definitely after you selected your CDMO. I mean, the CDMO will be the people who will know the most about your product. You want them to be fully involved and feeling your product and willing to success the same way that you want to success. That's it for today.